It's happening again. Hundreds of people, stranded in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. This time, it's not a movie or a retelling of history. It's now. Nearly 1,000 climbers and trekkers found themselves trapped on Mount Everest as a sudden, violent blizzard tore through the mountain this week. For hours, communication lines went dark. Camps vanished under walls of snow. And for those caught above the safe zones, every minute felt like a countdown they might not win. Rescue teams rushed in, but the storm hit harder than anyone predicted, burying tents, freezing ropes, and forcing climbers to huddle in silence, wondering if this was how another Everest tragedy would begin. And what's eerie is how familiar it all feels, because this isn't the first time Everest has turned into a nightmare that no one saw coming. In 1996, 8 climbers lost their lives to a storm almost exactly like this one. In 2014, a wall of ice crushed an entire team of Sherpas. A year later, avalanches from a massive earthquake wiped out base camp. So, when experts say history is repeating itself, it's not just a headline, it's a warning. Because the deeper you look at what happened in 2025, the clearer it becomes. We didn't just repeat the same mistakes, we ignored them. No one expected a storm like this in October. It was supposed to be the tail end of the trekking season, a window of calm weather before winter sealed off the mountain again. But then the wind changed. In just a few hours, clear skies turned into chaos. The first reports came from Camp 2 on the Tibetan side. Wind gusts tearing through tents, snow piling faster than climbers could shovel it away. Within minutes, visibility dropped to near zero. Radios crackled, voices cut out mid-sentence, and panic spread down the mountain. Guides tried to lead teams lower, but the routes vanished under meters of snow. Fixed ropes disappeared, landmarks gone. Even experienced Sherpas said they'd never seen conditions shift this fast. One climber, Rob Mason, said his team barely escaped after a path they used hours earlier was swallowed by an avalanche. Others weren't so lucky, pinned down in what survivors described as white hell, forced to dig out their tents every few minutes just to breathe. At its peak, more than 900 people were stranded, trekkers, guides, porters, all trapped in one of the most unpredictable environments on Earth. The problem wasn't just the snow, it was timing. Weather trackers had predicted light snowfall, not a full-scale whiteout. Some experts now believe the storm's intensity was amplified by shifting air currents and unusually warm temperatures in the days before, a combination that's becoming more common as global patterns grow unstable. For those trapped, none of that mattered. They were running out of oxygen, supplies were freezing solid, and the mountain was closing in around them. But here's the chilling part. This exact scenario has played out before, and every time it starts the same way. Confidence, miscalculation, and then silence. But this storm wasn't just bad luck. It was history repeating itself. What's happening on Everest right now feels hauntingly familiar, because every few years, the same mountain delivers the same warning, and every time, people think they'll be the ones to beat it. Back in 1996, 8 climbers lost their lives after a brutal storm hit just as they began their descent from the summit. They had reached the top, the dream moment, only to realize too late that they'd run out of time. Radios failed, oxygen tanks froze, and those still climbing upward never made it back down. That disaster became one of Everest's darkest days, a moment that exposed how pride and misjudgment can be just as deadly as the weather. Then came 2014, when a slab of ice broke loose from the Khumbu icefall, a section every climber dreads. It buried 16 Sherpas in seconds, all of them working to secure ropes and ladders for the commercial expeditions that would follow. It wasn't just tragedy, it was a wake-up call about the industry that Everest had become, one where risk was measured in profit and pride, not in safety. And just a year later, in 2015, nature struck again. A massive earthquake ripped through Nepal, triggering avalanches that swept straight through base camp. Dozens were killed, hundreds injured. The mountain that once symbolized human endurance became a reminder of how fragile that endurance really is. Each time, Experts promised change, better forecasting, stricter regulations, smaller teams. And for a while, it looked like those lessons stuck. But time dulls fear, and success stories breed confidence. Fast forward to 2025, and here we are again. Another storm, another mass rescue, another global headline about unpredictable conditions. The pattern's impossible to ignore because the danger never truly disappeared. It just waited for everyone to forget. So why do these disasters keep happening? That answer lies deeper, in the choices made before anyone ever sets foot on the mountain. And that's where the real story begins. Mount Everest used to be a symbol of the impossible, something only the most elite climbers dared to face. But today, it's a business, a booming one. Every season, hundreds of people pay tens of thousands of dollars to stand at the top of the world, guided by teams that promise safety, success, and the ultimate photo. Helicopters fly in luxury meals, Wi-Fi reaches the base camps, and long lines of climbers wait their turn for the summit. Like it's an amusement park built on ice. That's the problem. Everest isn't designed for crowds. The higher you go, the less room there is for error or oxygen. But the commercial rush to keep expeditions profitable means more permits, more climbers, and less caution. Guides feel pressure to deliver results because one failed season can ruin their reputation. Trekkers, many with limited experience, trust those guides completely. It's a fragile chain built on optimism, not safety. And when weather shifts or equipment fails, that optimism disappears fast. Add in climate change, and the risk multiplies. Temperatures around the Himalayas are rising faster than the global average. Ice that once stayed frozen year-round now melts and refreezes unpredictably, creating unstable snow shelves and deadly avalanches. Storms like the one in 2025 are forming outside the traditional danger months, catching teams when they least expect it. Still, each year, the mountain gets busier. Everyone thinks they'll be the lucky one, the one who beats the odds. But Everest doesn't care about luck. It rewards preparation and punishes arrogance. And yet, human nature keeps tilting the scale toward risk. So when the 2025 storm hit, the setup was already there. Overcrowded camps, limited exit routes, and too many people who didn't understand what was coming. That's why history isn't just repeating itself. It's being rebuilt, one bad decision at a time. And the 2025 blizzard? It became the perfect mirror reflecting all those old mistakes. But this time, the warning signs were louder than ever. The parallels are hard to miss. The same misjudged forecasts, the same slow decisions, the same assumption that the weather would ease up. Teams in 2025 pushed higher, even as warnings came through radio channels. Some said turning back meant losing everything: money, time, and pride. That mindset has doomed climbers before, and it nearly did again. The pattern is psychological as much as physical. When people invest everything to reach the top, they start believing they are immune to risk. That's the same mindset that drove climbers into the 1996 storm, and it's the same force that sent hundreds into the blizzard this year. Even technology hasn't fixed it. Forecasting models, satellite phones, oxygen management, none of it matters if the human decision-making stays the same. Everest punishes hesitation, but it also destroys overconfidence. In 2025, both collided. Some groups delayed evacuation by a few hours, trusting forecasts that never came true. Others tried to move and got trapped mid-route when the storm intensified. Those who stayed alive weren't necessarily the best prepared. They were the luckiest. Yet, despite the chaos, there was something different this time: the scale of the rescue. Within hours, helicopters were scrambled from both sides of the border. Drones were used to locate missing trekkers. Local Sherpas coordinated with global rescue units in a way never seen before. That response saved hundreds of lives. But even as the last survivors were airlifted out, experts were already warning that this wasn't a victory. It was another close call. Because luck and fast rescue aren't the same as progress. They just mean we got away with it. Again. As the snow settled and visibility returned, the mountain revealed what it always does after disaster: a kind of silence that feels like judgment, tents shredded, equipment scattered, footprints disappearing into endless white. For days afterward, trekkers described the eerie quiet, as if the mountain was reminding them who's really in control. The storm had ended, but its message hadn't. Everest had once again exposed the thin line between adventure and arrogance. What happened in 2025 isn't just another survival story. It's a reflection of everything we've refused to learn. Every tragedy on Everest starts with confidence and ends with the same realization. Nature doesn't negotiate. Climbers talk about conquering the mountain, but that idea has always been an illusion. The truth is, Everest lets people climb it, until it doesn't. And when the weather turns, all the gear, guides, and money in the world can't change the outcome. Maybe that's why this story hits so hard. Because it's not only about a storm or a mountain, it's about how easily we repeat the past, even when the warnings are right in front of us. The blizzard of 2025 will go down as another miracle rescue. But the miracle is temporary. The pattern is not. If nothing changes, if the greed, the pressure, and the denial continue, Everest will do what it's always done. It will remind us who's in charge. And when that happens again, people will call it a tragedy. But the truth is, we saw it coming. We always do.